Why are there not more people talking about the day Boeing, the giant of American aviation, came to a standstill overnight? Welcome back to Universal Insight. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. On October 12, 2025, the city of Everett, Washington awoke to an unsettling, almost unnatural silence. The usual hum of early morning traffic was gone, and the air felt heavy with anticipation, as if the entire town was holding its breath. The Boeing factory, normally a hive of activity, echoing with the sounds of machinery and the footsteps of thousands of workers, stood eerily still. Its massive gates, which once welcomed a bustling workforce, were now chained shut, sending a chilling message to the community. A stark sign hung on the gate, its bold letters impossible to ignore: all operations suspended indefinitely. For many, it was the first confirmation that something truly catastrophic had happened overnight. Outside, groups of workers gathered in disbelief, clutching their coffee cups against the morning chill. Their faces were etched with worry and confusion as they tried to make sense of the sudden halt to their daily routines and livelihoods. The uncertainty was palpable. News spread quickly. Overnight, China had made a stunning announcement. Every Boeing aircraft in the country was permanently grounded, all pending orders were cancelled, and decades of business ties were abruptly severed. The shockwaves rippled across the globe. For Boeing, China wasn't just another customer, it was their largest and most important market. The loss was more than a setback. It was a devastating blow that threatened the very foundation of the company's future. Production ground to a halt in an instant. Assembly lines, once alive with motion, now stood frozen in time. Half-built planes sat abandoned, their futures as uncertain as the workers who built them. The financial collapse was swift and brutal. Boeing's stock plummeted, headlines screamed of disaster, and executives scrambled to contain the fallout. The company simply couldn't survive the sudden loss of its biggest partner. For the workers, the impact was deeply personal. Global politics had reached their doorstep, turning their world upside down. The silence inside the factory was more than just the absence of noise. It was the beginning of a terrifying new reality, one filled with questions and fears about what would come next. Years of trade tensions erupted when the U.S. imposed harsh tariffs on China, expecting negotiation. Instead, China struck at Boeing, America's industrial pride. Boeing's stock crashed, billions in orders vanished, and the supply chain collapsed overnight. Thousands of suppliers across the country received stop work orders, their futures thrown into chaos. The shock spread. Auto, tech, and agriculture leaders realized their own vulnerability. Nearly 150,000 Boeing jobs disappeared instantly, with over 1 million more at risk. The weaponization of global trade had left the U.S. economy reeling. Boeing wasn't just a company, it was a symbol of American innovation and strength. Its planes connected the world and fueled the economy for generations. The shutdown's impact rippled through every sector. Auto, tech, and agriculture all faced new threats. China's move showed it was willing to endure pain for long-term gain, forcing U.S. industries to rethink their global strategies. The dream of seamless global trade was shattered, replaced by fear and uncertainty. Even farmers braced for fallout, knowing no industry was safe. The fall of Boeing cast a long, dark shadow across America. The true cost of Boeing's collapse is measured not just in numbers, but in lives upended and dreams put on hold. For thousands of families, the end of steady work meant the beginning of uncertainty, anxiety, and heartbreak. Maria Flores, a third-generation worker, wonders, "What do I do now? Where do we go?" Her family's legacy at Boeing, once a source of pride, now feels like a burden as she faces an uncertain future. Skilled employees who built their lives around Boeing were suddenly jobless, victims of forces beyond their control. Many had spent decades perfecting their craft, only to find themselves packing up their workspaces, unsure if they'd ever return to the industry they loved. Community leaders warned of a regional depression, with small businesses and public services at risk. The loss of Boeing's payroll rippled outward, threatening the survival of local diners, hardware stores, and even schools that depended on tax revenue. David Chen, an avionics engineer, stared at his termination notice. "I thought I was safe. Now, I'm paying the price for a fight I didn't start." Like so many others, he faces the daunting task of starting over in a shrinking job market. Anxiety gripped entire towns. Diners fell silent, families feared foreclosure, and hope evaporated. The emotional toll was as real as the financial one, with parents struggling to reassure their children and neighbors, leaning on each other for support. The shutdown's ripple effects threatened to devastate local economies. Once bustling industrial parks grew quiet, and the sense of community pride gave way to worry and frustration. For these workers, global trade disputes became a brutal, personal reality. The abstract language of tariffs and sanctions translated into lost jobs, empty savings accounts, and broken plans for the future. They are the human cost of economic warfare. Ordinary people caught in the crossfire of decisions made far from their homes. Behind every headline, real lives are being shattered. The story of Boeing's collapse is not just about business. It's about families, communities, and the enduring struggle to find hope in the face of adversity. China's ban on Boeing was a calculated move, not random aggression. It was a strategic response, carefully orchestrated to send a message to both domestic and international audiences. By targeting Boeing, China didn't just pick any American company, it chose an icon of U.S. industrial strength and technological prowess, making the impact felt far beyond the aviation sector. It retaliated against U.S. tariffs by targeting a symbol of American power. The move was designed to hit where it hurt most, leveraging economic pressure in a high-profile way. This wasn't just about trade, it was about influence, leverage, and reshaping the balance of power. The ban protected China's own aerospace industry, COMAC, instantly creating a captive market for its planes. With foreign competition sidelined, COMAC could accelerate development, refine its technology, and gain valuable market share at home, laying the groundwork for future expansion abroad. Airlines now had to buy Chinese, guaranteeing COMAC's growth and global ambitions. This shift not only boosted domestic manufacturing, but also signaled to the world that China was ready to compete on the international stage, challenging the long-standing dominance of Western aerospace giants. The move warned other nations, siding with the U.S. has consequences. It was a clear signal that China could use its vast market as a tool of economic diplomacy, forcing countries and companies to reconsider their alliances and business strategies. China aimed to fracture U.S. alliances and pull more countries into its economic orbit. By demonstrating its willingness to act decisively, China positioned itself as a central player in the global economy, inviting others to join its sphere of influence. It was also a declaration of national pride. China was no longer just a buyer, but a global leader. The success of COMAC became a symbol of technological progress and self-reliance, inspiring confidence and unity across the nation. The world had witnessed a bold, high-stakes play for economic independence. China's action sent ripples through global markets, signaling a new era where economic power could be wielded as strategically as military might. The Boeing shutdown sent Washington into panic. Emergency meetings erupted as leaders realized their strategy had backfired. The bipartisan consensus on China vanished, replaced by blame and desperation. The U.S. had no quick fix. More tariffs would only worsen the crisis. Frantic back-channel talks with Beijing began, but China was in no rush to help. Hopes for a swift resolution faded. A prolonged crisis loomed. America now faced a painful reckoning. Could it recover, or was its era of industrial dominance ending? As Boeing's gates stayed locked, a chilling uncertainty settled over the nation.